1,000 people here in Mecklenburg County simply don't have a place to call a home. And that's just the number of people the county can track.
Outside of that county number, there are whole scores of people who are homeless and living in their cars. Those aren't captured there. There are people who are homeless in the sense that they don't have a primary rental or purchased property.
Kenya Joseph is the vice president of Hearts for the Invisible Coalition, a nonprofit organization specializing in street outreach and homelessness advocacy. She says many people the group encounter have jobs but can't afford to pay rent in the area.
Big part of homelessness is, of course, the inaffordability of housing and just housing also being unavailable, the lack of affordable housing.
Yeah, and data from the county backs that up. The most recent numbers we have show the county lacked more than 45,000 units for renters with extremely low incomes. Now, tomorrow night, the Levine Museum of the New South is asking the question, what is it going to take? It's teaming up with local artists and community leaders to restart the conversation. Earlier today, we talked to the museum's programs manager, Patrick Stepp, and local artist and poet, Josh Smalls.
As a young kid, I always had conversations with the folks who actually lived right there in front of the door. And so just to do something to be helpful, to bring awareness to what they have to live with, a no-brainer, I was all in.
How can we help?
The first things first is finding out who do we speak to make a real difference, right? It's easy to do the small things that are grand for somebody else, right? Those are easy parts, but who do we talk to that says, okay, let us put together an actual program. Let us put together some bills, something that says, let us move from here now that we can look forward to never returning to this point.
The event tomorrow, Homelessness in Our Community, is a part of our What Is It Going to Take program series. It's a very important series. It's very special to the museum. It's where we take contemporary issues that are very important nationally and regionally and locally, and we look at them through a historical lens, and we talk about how did we get here, where do we want to go, and what is it going to take to get there.
If you have preconceived notions about what you think homelessness is and who the homeless are those going to be sort of challenged tomorrow?
I think they absolutely will be challenged tomorrow. I think hopefully tomorrow will be very eye-opening for people and really break down some truth that's behind a lot of misconceptions.
Is there a fundraiser aspect to this?
Yes, absolutely. We are collaborating with artists that will be present at our program who will have their art on display as well as giving a poetry reading. That art can be purchased and proceeds of portions of those proceeds will be donated to Roof Above and other similar organizations.
How many ways can you write about the heart? Find lifelines locked in streams no one can see and still. And some of the poems in the book are from actual stories of people who I know and people I've spoken to, and hearing their journeys. And a lot of these people are very important people at one point in time. A lot of vets, military veterans, and their stories are really, really amazing. If you just listen, the hardships are hard to take, but their stories are so great. I had a few friends who have had no siblings, and I've wondered how they survived nights when dreams colored them white, scared stiff with no one's arms close enough to hold them close. See, it was a struggle initially, and the struggle was because I did not want to write about just the grime and the grit, the things that people see as eyesores. I wanted to remind people that these are human beings. I thought about this many years, when the playground knew my running shoes, and everyone made fun of the old guy who cussed in the air until he had his first sip of the day.
Is there something that really spoke to you, as you were doing it?
I've cried several times over reminding myself of the faces, the voices, listen to the different journeys. There's so much that would make the heart actually just cry. I'm not sure if God himself asked me to write these poems, or maybe his voice is guiding this pen. All I know is I've had dark days, those that summon when writing comes, some from the past and some from the opening of the day. Others find a pulse whenever light enters a space, but all of them come straight from the heart.
Ja's talent is just incredible. Do you want to join in on that discussion? Do you want to hear more of his poetry? You want to buy the poetry book, the artwork? The program is at the Little Rock Cultural Center tomorrow. It starts at 6 o'clock. It is free. It is going to be worth